What's your best relationship advice? Talk to them when you're upset. They can't read your mind. If you hold all your negative thoughts inside, it will just make you feel bitter about everything until it stops working. My problem is not knowing whether the problems I create in my head are just me being crazy or if they are actually justified. Find someone who you can go on vacation with. It sounds easy. However, if there's someone that you don't want to get rid of at the end of a vacation, you're probably okay with them. It's funny, I knew I deeply loved my now husband when we went away for the weekend, and I missed him when he dropped me off at home after. Good point. When it comes to fights, have the memory of a goldfish for the good stuff, the memory of an elephant, and never keep score. Your team. Also, if you are in an actual fight, it's better to be an elephant. They are huge and super strong. Things take time, hard work, and dedication. The spark is going to die after the honeymoon phase. Don't take that as a give up sign. Take it as a sign to try to bring a new spark in. And nobody can tell you how to live your life. Not even them. Make sure you know what toxic signs are and don't justify anything. Difference between infatuation and love is the same difference between motivation and discipline. Infatuation and motivation are both fleeting. They come in strong and then suddenly go. Discipline and love are active choices. You buy into it, you build it, and then you ride it out through the good and bad. Be happy on your own. Don't rely 100% on your relationship if you need happiness. There is always a time where you are on your own and you need to pleasure yourself. While you're cuddling, scratch their head and play with their hair. And rub the belly, and wiggling tail. Don't expect them to be perfect. Don't hold them up to a super high standard. They won't meet it. That being said, know your worth. This. Accept their flaws, but help them grow from their mistakes. If they're unwilling to learn from mistakes, leave. When you're in a relationship, make sure that you're staying in it for the right reasons. If you're staying for security, convenience, because you're afraid of being alone, or anything of that nature, then just leave. Don't let yourself be that sad guy who hates his wife but stays with them forever. Above all, be yourself. Don't get caught up in trying to be somebody you think others want you to be. Unless yourself is a butthole, in which case be a better version of yourself. That's a good piece of advice that was given to me a little while back. Remember, during fights, disagreements, it's not you versus your so. It's you and your so versus the problem. I totally agree. In a lot of cases this requires a lot of humility though. In my experience, I've had some temper problems in the past. It's me and my so versus my character flaw. I am glad she was willing to correct me and help me grow up instead of just saying goodbye right away. I am glad I had the courage to admit I am flawed. It's me and her versus our flaws. I don't know if it's the best advice for everyone because we all carry different kinds of baggage, but my husband and I laid out all our cards the first night we met. I told him everything. My wants, my needs, my expectations, my goals, everything. And he did the same. We were both so tired of the dating game that we basically both said, this is me, this is what I'm looking for, take it or leave it. We were so honest with each other that we left the date feeling like we've known one another forever. We celebrate 5 years together this December. I guess what you should take away is that honesty is key. Don't deny who you are or your wants and needs. And don't deny someone else theirs either. We all need love. Establish, maintain, and respect boundaries. Learn to compromise and apologize. You're growing together. It's you two versus the world, not you two versus each other. Their concerns or complaints might be stupid to you, but to them it's important. That thing they are complaining about that you think is silly is not silly to them. Leaving a spoon in the sink may seem trivial to you because you would do all the dishes in the world for that person, but they are interpreting the spoon in the sink as not giving a crap. Their perspective is their reality, regardless of whether you think it is stupid and a bad perspective. Do with that information what you will. Either you need to adjust your behavior to be more conforming to their preferences, or you need to accept that their preferences are too unreasonable. Don't just say your feelings are dumb and think you've won an argument. There are only two solutions to the problem. You fix your behavior to meet their needs, or they have to adjust what their needs are. People are unlikely to change their needs. I needed this. Most dating experiences and relationships don't work out, and that's okay. Most of the time it has nothing to do with you or the other person not being great or needing to improve in any way. It's just not right. It's like spaghetti and ice cream. Both are delicious, but not together. Spaghetti needs to find some bolognese sauce and ice cream needs to find some hot fudge. If you're not feeling it with someone, you don't need any excuse to leave. If you want out, you can go at any time, as long as you tell the other person in a way that shows you're a decent person. Be calm, don't criticize them, be decisive, and respect their privacy. You're fine. In the same vein, don't try to stick with something when you're just not feeling it just because you think the other person is great, or the best you'll ever do, or it's better than being single. Don't try to change yourself to please the other person and get them to like you more. However, learning to compromise is different, and this is important. And if you feel like someone is sending you signals that they might want out, often misconstrued as mixed signals, just make it easy for them and go. It may make you feel like crap to break it off with someone who will likely find it a relief you took care of the dirty work, or only wants you when they feel like they can't have you. It's better for everyone that you free yourself to find someone better. Ice cream. Go find your hot fudge. Know each other's love languages. Everyone is different, and what ways make them feel loved. There's a good book on this called The 5 Love Languages. Short read, really helped me and my wife to understand the way we show each other love. Got a crush on someone you fancy? Yesterday was the best day to tell them. You never know if they could go missing and never be found again. Edit. Okay, I made this comment lightheartedly, but my crush did go missing. Now I made it all awkward and crap. Make sure they have a good mattress and not a taco bed. Relax, share, and trust. Be open, honest, and flexible, willing to learn as you go, and adapt to each other's needs and interests. If you can't make yourself happy, they won't be able to make you happy either. I second this. Got extremely close to someone with depression and mental illnesses. They refused to get any help, saying they didn't want someone else telling them how to live their life. My dumb ass didn't see the huge red flag and thought I could bring the happiness. I couldn't. Decide to invest effort into the relationship, and if your partner does not reciprocate, then wait for someone who wants to work with you to create a successful partnership. Seriously, take into consider that the person you are falling in love with is a being who is always changing. Your wavelengths may be in sync with each other now, but be watchful for when you're growing at different speeds. A good partner will never stop growing, and you'll want to grow together. Someone who is exactly the same on all levels of spirituality and all other fronts as well should be approached with caution. We're meant to never seize up and stand still. For those who have been together for a while, frick first. Going out for dinner, to a party, anywhere that you'll get home kinda late but think, hey, it would be fun to get laid after this frick first. Then when you can go to bed like you really want, or, best case scenario, you get to frick again. Especially this before going out to dinner. That way you can eat what you want without worrying about being too full for sexy times later. Trust your instincts. If you're with someone that is regularly making your life more worse than better, leave. For context, I'm currently engaged to someone that I both love deeply and fight with. We're best friends, and I have complete faith in their morality and that they have my best interests at heart. Sometimes how they go about trying to make my life better makes it worse, and sometimes they're inconsiderate, but that's life. Sometimes I'm inconsiderate too, a lot actually. I can never remember to hang up the dang towels. Before that I dated someone who I thought, wrongly, at the time was very smart and attractive, but routinely treated me like crap. They lied to me, cheated on me. I've also dated people who, while not bad, didn't make me laugh, and whom I never felt I could trust. I'm still not sure if they were lying or not, but they made me feel like they were, and as a result the relationship wasn't healthy. The moral of the story is I can trust myself now. I know the difference in what a good relationship and a bad relationship feels like. It usually boils down to, is the other person willing to compromise and try and work to save things? Are they able to admit when they are wrong and take care of my feelings when I'm wrong? Can your partner listen to you and make you feel cared for even when you disagree? Even when a good relationship is going badly, it feels different than a bad relationship going good. Also, my partner and I live together and have lived together for the past 5 years before marriage, so it's not like we're in the infatuation phase still. Regularly make an active effort to give a crap about them. Take a moment and think critically about if there's anything your partner needs or wants. It just takes a few seconds and it will make all the difference in the world. Even if she says she doesn't want anything, get her a small fry anyway, so she won't eat yours. Just order your fries one size up. Will make her feel less guilty. She doesn't want to feel like she's eating a full order of fries, and is usually cheaper, and you don't look like a control freak. Argue naked. Nothing says I'm passionate about this like a boner. The relationship is always 60/40 effort, with you both giving 60. I actually really like that cause it's very true. Do not enter a relationship because you feel required to, or because others want you to. Do it because you want to. Communication. Don't beat around the bush and wrestle with an issue because you're too afraid to ask them, or scared of their reaction. Even if it turns out negative. Life's freaking short, whatever. Start farting around her ASAP. I've been with my wife for like 13 years and I've never knowingly farted around her. I have to freaking get up and leave the room to do it. It's been going on for so long that it would just be so damned awkward if I started doing it now. I done fricked up. To anyone a little nervous about pulling the trigger on this, consider just blaming your farts on your dog. Even though it was very obviously you, it detracts from the embarrassment a little and encourages both of you to laugh about it. My husband and I have been blaming every noticeable fart and burp on the dog for the last 12 years even though the dog died 2 years ago. Couple therapy doesn't spell the end of things. It can be the beginning of something amazing and teach you great things about your partner in a safe space. Admit you're wrong when you are. When there's a conflict, stand your ground, but not so much that you're not open-minded to your partner's ideas point of view. Lastly, do not go to bed angry at each other. To the last point, if it's late at night and you're angry at each other, a night's sleep might improve the situation because it will give you time to cool down. If you're both getting frustrated in an argument, continuing to argue for the sake of arguing out a resolution before sleeping isn't the most helpful option. Do not rush things. Learn everything there is to know about your SO before taking things to the next level. If you aren't compatible, it's better to find out before you live together, marry, or have kids. Be yourself and try not to be afraid or insecure. Don't be with someone who doesn't make you feel good about yourself. Never cheat. Just be a loyal person and have faith. I don't want to do what others did to my girlfriend in the past, and I know she is loyal to me too. Before you do something, ask yourself, how will I feel if my so did this? If you wouldn't like it, don't do it. There isn't someone out there for everyone. You need to be comfortable with being alone. This means setting goals and achieving them. Even if no one finds you attractive, at least you can still be fit, healthy, have a career and be wealthy enough to pursue your hobbies and travel. If you're this person, that is someone no one else finds attractive, then pursue life and your goals for yourself. You can find immense satisfaction alone, outside of a relationship. Eventually someone may find you attractive, but even if no one does, you can still live a very full life. Never stop working on yourself. No matter how much you love someone, never put your future on hold, never stop learning or stop growing. If the other person truly loves you, she will also want you to continue working on yourself. If you're going to pack all your crap up and leave unexpectedly, should have the courtesy to leave a note. Never stop crushing on your spouse and be excited to talk about them to others. It's the cutest thing when you can tell how in love two people are, even when one of them isn't in the room. As someone who got completely blindsided with a breakup today despite being, his words, the perfect girl, I just want to say this, please communicate. If there's a problem, voice it early and talk about it as often as you need to. Don't break her heart with a sudden slap in the face after 2 years of what she thought was a perfect relationship. I wish I were dead. Communication is key. If they never listen or open, it's time to move on. Under promise, Over-deliver. Your so should be your favorite person in the world to spend time with. Likewise, you should be your so's favorite person. If this is not the case, you might want to consider re-evaluating your relationship. If you have a bad day, buy her him something small. Flowers, chocolates, Chipotle, act. Love is in the small things. It is what won the heart of my girlfriend. Clarification. When you have a bad, buy something for your SO. You can't necessarily make your day better, but you can make their day better. Learning how to be bored together is important. You don't have to be on the go, doing stuff and planning stuff and being fun and exciting all the time. It's okay to just sit around and not do anything and not talk to each other. It's not unhealthy, I promise. In an ideal relationship, the contributions are 60-40 where both partners are the one trying to give 60%. My mom asked an elderly couple who had been married for decades what their secret was. They said that they act as if being nice to each other is a competition. That has always stuck with me. 1. Don't expect the other person to be able to read your mind. 2. Be a team, not opponents. 3. Everybody farts at some point. Don't lose yourself as an individual in a relationship. When you disagree, remember that you're on the same team. You're supposed to fight a problem, not the other person. This is such an awesome way of putting that concept. Always be mindful and thoughtful to that person's love map. Like they might need a quick text every morning when you get to work letting them know you're safe. Makes zero sense to you, but knowing it's something small and means the world to them, well, why the heck not? They might get stressed out and you helping to clean the house for when they've finished work might mean more to them than someone else you've been with who wanted flowers to show love. Know what it is that your partner loves and makes them feel loved too. It's fine to not always want to spend 100% of your time with your spouse. Not every moment of every day is going to be bliss, and sometimes it really takes some effort. I love my wife to bits, but there are some days when I would just like to do things by myself. It doesn't mean our relationship isn't great, but it can be really refreshing to just take a stroll around a shopping center, or go and get some food alone or something. This 100%. My spouse goes weekly to a Pathfinder game. That's his alone time. I occasionally go to a punk show or have a beer with my friends. It can be even simpler. I will go read a book in the other room and get my alone time. He likes to cook, so heck start up in the kitchen and I stay away while he listens to his music. Everyone needs alone time. There's a reason it's called the honeymoon phase, and eventually you won't have as much to talk about other than how the day went, or might not always feel those butterflies in your stomach when you think about them. That's when it becomes a test in the relationship and you both have to work on it to make it work. You will get into fights but learn to get over them, or I doubt it'll last. Resentment can kill feelings for someone. You trade butterflies for familiarity, excitement for comfort. Listen to them, communicate with them, compromise sometimes, duck them regularly. To elaborate on compromise, it doesn't always mean something we'll both enjoy. At times it will very likely mean today we do something my partner likes and that I sparingly tolerate, but tomorrow that reverses. Your spouse isn't going to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. There will be mistakes and misunderstandings. What really matters in a relationship is not being perfect, but how you handle the imperfections of yourself and your spouse in a respectful, reasonable way. This is the best comment here, and the ones about communication. Guy here. This probably sounds simple, but here's what I've learned. Know yourself, where you're at in life. If you're in a shitstorm, legal crap, money crap, drugs and alcohol crap, legal crap, you're probably not ready for anything serious. Clean up your act first. Be honest. No matter how fricked up crap is, if you want to move forward in a serious way, all the cards got to be on the table. Take it slow. Get to know each other, but in the end no secrets. There is some crap that is nobody's business, but I ain't talking about that. Know her, what she's been through, and what she wants out of life. You both need to be pretty much on board. You need to be heading for the same thing. Kids, buy a house or gypsy life. Don't matter. Keep a sharp eye on things. You need to make sure she's doing okay and let her know you're doing okay. Same with her to you. After that it's just dodging stupid. Lots of wisdom here. no secrets, and be on board with each other's plan is big. Relationships are work. They aren't always fun, you won't always be madly in love, and you can't put them on a shelf and ignore them. But they shouldn't be all work. Sometimes you have to spend years with shitty people to realize what you deserve. It was never a waste. You needed the experience to figure out what works best for you or what to avoid. You'll never forget your exes. They were there for a reason. Conversely, sometimes you need to spend years in bad relationships with good people before you realize that you're being a shitty person. Sometimes it's hard to see and harder to admit. Intimacy is way more important than most people realize. Like I've told my wife, yeah sure, there's lust involved. There's also interest in making your partner feel good as well. If that interest isn't there, your partner might as well be a sex toy for all they mean to you. You are never obliged to stay in a relationship. Doesn't frickin' matter what someone has threatened. If you aren't happy, frick 'em. If you aren't happy, frick 'em. And if that doesn't help, leave 'em. Communication is the foundation upon which everything else is built. They say don't go to bed angry, not because anger does something while you're sleeping, but because it means you didn't communicate properly and you're giving up on trying. Be calm, actively listen. Do not dismiss your partner's statements. Assume good faith. It's you and me versus the problem, not me versus you. If something's bugging you, talk to your so about it. If you feel enraged about something, wait until you're well fed, well rested, with warm extremities before talking about it. But talk about it at the first opportunity, calmly, rationally, and honestly. Keep the discussion limited to that one narrow thing. If something's bugging your so, hear them out. Never think, well, I'm not bothered by that, so it's not a problem. Think my so is bothered by this, and that's a problem. If you think the concern is unreasonable, frame the discussion as solving the problem of your so as being unhappy. The worst fights and arguments happen over trivial things, because it's not the trivial thing that's actually causing the problem. It's probably a series of things, or a general lack of satisfaction, and the toothpaste cap being left off is just the instigator of the fight. If you communicate often and openly, these things will not fester, they won't pile up, and you won't get into such fights. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. If they're mean, if they're vindictive, if they use you, if they show you that they don't really care about you, believe them. If they make you feel inadequate, on edge, scared, nervous, unworthy, or like a disappointment, believe them. If they're entitled, narcissistic, sociopathic, manipulative, or unfair, believe them. Life isn't a movie. You can't fix people who don't want to be fixed. More often than not, they just are who they are. So take off the rose-colored glasses and stop thinking love will find a way. If it isn't working, change it. Don't spend your precious time lamenting over a person who wouldn't genuinely lament over you. This sounds bleak, I know, but relationships and love are supposed to be the most beautiful thing in the universe. If your relationship is not improving your quality of life on the aggregate, you need to seriously reassess what you want in life, because you deserve better. You only get so much time to find people in your life that make it worth living. Don't get caught up on people who will make you wish you never lived it. Yes, you gotta make sure you're choosing them as advertised, not falling in love with their potential. I don't think your perspective is bleak at all. I think it's balanced and disillusioned. In related vernacular, choosing to believe who someone is a great example of living life on life's terms. It's not always easy, but it gets you out of a lot of unnecessary wrestling matches. If you go into a marriage long-term commitment with the impression that you'll be happy all the time and your life will only change for the better, you are absolutely wrong. Be realistic that there will be days you won't be able to stand each other, your lives may absolutely hit rough patches and you will not agree on how or why that situation occurred or even how to get out of it, and the like. Go on holiday together. If you can agree on food, sleep soundly, compromise on activities and do your own thing one of the days and not get mad at each other, you stand a good chance of lasting a while. I love my boyfriend to bits and miss him a lot. We don't live together yet, but boy do I like sleeping on my own in bed sometimes. Space is healthy. Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you have to live in each other's pockets. Agreed. I love my boyfriend, but I also love sleeping in my own bed sometimes. You don't need to be in one. Don't light yourself on fire to keep others warm. Love is a choice, not a feeling. Not talking about sexuality here. The butterflies go away eventually, it's inevitable, but you can choose to be committed anyway and build something beautiful together. Conversely, attraction is a feeling, not a choice. You cannot negotiate someone into being into you if they aren't. You have to be honest with them, especially when it's hard to do. Me and my boyfriend get uncomfortably real with each other sometimes, and something we have both learned is to listen to criticism without getting defensive. And when giving criticism, we don't attack each other, no matter how angry or sad we are at each other. I've had him call me out for certain behaviors that nobody has ever called me out on, and I've done the same for him. We're both better people for it because when we get it all out on the table, we have no choice but to work on ourselves. Men of Reddit, what is the best relationship advice can you give us women? Say what you mean. Don't dance around an issue. Don't make it a game. Be direct and just come out with it, in a non-sholish way. You could save yourself a lot of time, potential pain, or the escalation of an argument that wasn't even on the table. That's for both sexes. Woman. I'm cold. Man, thinking to self. Okay. Woman, an hour later. Upset. Why didn't you get me a blanket or turn up the heat? Man. Because you didn't ask me to. With my wife and I, it's gotten to the point where when she does something like this, I'll straight up say, thank you for the information. Is there something you'd like me to do with this information? Double quote. Sometimes she really is just giving me information or wants to talk. Sometimes she expects me to do something with that information. But until she clarifies, I have no idea. We don't have to talk to consider it quality time. My wife and I have this on lockdown. We drove 3 hours to go pick the kid up from her mom's. We talk out our plans before getting on the interstate, which is 7 minutes down the road. Once we get on the interstate, it's silence between us. Drive an hour and I'd say I need coffee and a piss. You hungry or anything? She might say yes, and then wherever she wants to eat we will go to, but usually it's whatever is closer. If she says no, then Waffle House it is. Any other words is just me bitching about drivers. I kinda knew the silence didn't bother her, but I got the definitive answer when her mom, the kid, and my wife came back from a little hike. She came through the door looking unset before the other two. I was watching sports and just said, how was the hike? She blurts out, it'd be great if I didn't go with two people that didn't stop talking. Double quote. Holding your relationship hostage in every argument means you're a shitty person with no real argument. Oh yay? Then why are we even together? Double quote. If I'm so shitty then just leave me. Double quote. I guess you don't care about our relationship then. Double quote. My husband used to say things like that at the very beginning of the relationship. I brought it up not during a dispute and found out it's because he thought I was out of his league and genuinely expected me to leave and didn't want to be blindsided. I told him to knock it off. I wasn't going anywhere. And 5 years later, we're married and have a baby on the way. We're insanely happy. Never really get in tiffs. And I can honestly say we are each other's other half. But it didn't change how annoying it was to hear, then why don't you just leave me? Double quote. Some of that can come from insecurities, but if it's constant it's more manipulative than anything. If you're so saying shitty like this, talk about it. There might be more to it. But there might not. Little compliments are really awesome. Also, talk about what you want and don't want. Please, this goes for men and women. Good communication makes things so much easier. If you hit or berate your boyfriend's spouse, that's abusive. It doesn't matter what gender the abuser is. And even if it doesn't hurt physically, it can really hurt mentally and emotionally. Yeah. I've been hit by a girlfriend years ago. It hurt pretty bad, and when I called it out, it was girls can't hit guys. I was young, naive, and had low enough self-esteem that her attention was more valuable than my own self-respect. It's a good thing that relationship lasted 4 months. She was all kinds of awful. We can't read minds. Never think we should know what you want or are thinking. Yeah. Nah. Sure you can't read minds, but sometimes you miss the obvious. Like the woman comes home from a work shift. There's a mess. The bin needs to be taken out. It would be nice if the meal had been started. These are things that are so obvious. Having to constantly ask is annoying. Like the guys who will do something when you ask but won't take the initiative themselves. The examples I give are actually from my adult daughter when she was living with me. But you get the idea. Don't take relationship advice from Reddit. Don't take any advice from Reddit. Based on this little comment and the zero context I have about your life. My advice. Break up with your significant other. They are clearly selfish and abusive and you don't deserve to be treated that way. People change for their own reasons. Don't get into a relationship with someone hoping he will change. Unless he wants to. It won't happen. Remember that love is a choice. Not a feeling. Someone who loves you is going to treat you in such a way that you feel loved. If you don't feel it, and he has no interest in doing things to make you feel loved, he doesn't love you. He might have the hots for you. Sure. That's not love. After 5 years of marriage, my wife asked me when I was going to quit smoking. I asked her if she remembered our wedding day. Just before we walked down the aisle if there was anything about me she wanted me to change. And she said, "No dear. I love you just the way you are." And then she looked at me and said, "That's when I thought I could change you." When you are with your so put the F at %ing phone down. Nothing gets to me more than having a set time to be together and her constantly checking TXTS, FB, Instagram. When I am with my phone is on silent and stays in my pocket so I can be focused and engaged with her. This should be the case with friends too. We've all seen groups of friends out and all of them are on their phones. What the FCK are you doing out with friends if you're going to ignore them? Especially true with your so. With my last GF I would spoon her and do the occasional boob grab of course. Every once in a while she would big spoon me and squeeze my man boob. It was funny, cute, and strangely made me feel loved. Probably my top advice for anyone in a relationship. Do not play relationship games. Just say what you want. Don't make the other person guess. Don't make them try to win you over. Don't play the silent game where they have to guess what they did wrong or guess how to fix things. And don't loyalty test them or whatever crap. If trust is lacking, tests won't fix them. Communication and trust will. If that doesn't work, tests certainly won't. Just say what you want. If the other person genuinely doesn't know and is trying, that's okay. Don't make it unnecessarily hard on them. Try to make it clear up front if you want him to find what's wrong with your outfit or just give compliments when you ask how an outfit looks. The assumption is you just want a compliment, but if you actually want a second set of eyes in case you missed something, we need to know that. I must say that most women probably don't care if you wanna chill, play games or hang out with your buddies occasionally. In fact, most women probably expect you to have some shit of your own to do. But there are dudes that it's all they do is play video games and be with their friends. For some people it gets to the point of addiction. I know, cause I used to be like that. I stopped playing a few games because I become too addicted to it and it consumed all my free time. It's all I will want to do. Those who can game for a set amount of time and stop should be able to manage time well enough to game and keep your girl happy. Disclaimer. This does not apply for dads. You gave up your gaming rights the sec your pull-out game became weak. If you want to be with someone else, dump your partner. Don't pull that bullshit where you play the field while having a partner who you're keeping on the back burner if things don't work with your new crush. And sure as hell don't string your partner along waiting for the perfect moment to break up with them while you're fking around with someone new. The best time to break up with your partner when you don't want to be with them, especially if you want to be with someone new, is immediately. Rip off the band-aid and get it over with. Maybe they'll be mad or upset. But they're gonna find out if you lie to them about just wanting to be single for a while when you're putting up pics with you and new boo a couple weeks later on social media, and that f-king hurts way more than if you just be honest in the first place. If you want to be with your current partner, don't be f-king around with MR. He's just a friend because you're not as slick as you think, and that's emotional cheating. Longevity in a relationship is about compromises both ways. If the other one is the only one who always has to bend backwards but you never do, you are not doing it right. If you go into a relationship with a list of things he does wrong but you want to fix in him, neither of you will be happy. People can make small, incremental adjustments and concessions, but most people don't make sweeping changes to their personality and habits for the sake of another person. You have every right to break up with a guy who makes you unhappy. He has every right to break up because living with a constant reminder of what he isn't doing right is miserable. Both of these things can be concurrently true about people who are in a relationship together. If we say something seemingly offensive out of nowhere, ask what we mean instead of assuming the absolute f-king worst thing that could be interpreted. Good answer. I feel this. Some people are too quick to extrapolate meaning out of something you're saying. While you are saying it, let me fucking finish talking, and if my words come out stupid, ask me to clarify after I'm done talking. Verbal communication can be very sloppy from time to time. Men rarely change. Be happy with your purchase before you buy instead of seeing potential in him you may never realize. Reminds me of women marry men thinking they'll change but they don't. Men marry women thinking they won't change but they do. The ultimate dilemma. Don't treat your partner differently in front of other people than you do in private. Learning to recognize when you're being a BTCH will go a long way. Don't FCK other people. Learning to recognize when you're being a BTCH will go a long way. I have learned to recognize this, and every time I stop myself before saying something unnecessary and hurtful, I realize how being petty and bitchy would not only put a damper on my relationship, but also on my mood. I am so much happier when I can let go and not BTCH about irrelevant stuff. I'm sure my husband is also happier for it. We enjoy a comfortable silence. Not every moment need be filled with meaningless talk. That may not be a general thing, as silences can be awkward for some. Speaking for myself though, two people can enjoy one another's company in silence. Also, don't neglect the balls. Always remember that he is an individual, and not just an entity of class man. Confuse program and noises. Joke aside, I agree wholeheartedly. Everyone is different, and generalization is so stupid no matter what it is about. Everyone has different views, morals, motives, needs and aspirations, and people should be aware of that, especially in a committed relationship. Why do people love dogs? Seriously. Why? They don't do much. They don't work. They don't do our taxes. They poop and don't even clean up after themselves. The only thing dogs do is provide affection. That's the answer. The secret to winning affection is to give it. All men want. All people want is to be wanted. Do what dogs do and be excited. Be happy to be near us. And we will race around the earth to steal you the sun. The best advice I can give is don't be friends with an ex or someone you rejected. You're absolutely not doing them a favor. You're not letting them down easy. You're dangling a dream in front of someone who will never get it. Cut contact and leave. You're turning a broken heart into a festering one. Also, if someone is threatening self-harm, which I hear a lot of girls experience, if you cut contact, tell someone. Your friends. Your parents. Their parents. Authorities. Anyone. This is a very disgusting way of manipulation and it can really mess you up. Talk about it and get help. I like Bill Burr's advice. The best moment he had was when his GF made him a sandwich and gave him a beer. Said nothing. And walked away. My wife came upstairs. Handed me a cold beer. Gave me a kiss. And walked back down. It was the best. After I finished it, I immediately went down and spent a good 2 hours watching Housewives with her lol. I do this all the time. It's my favorite thing to do. If I'm baking cookies, I'll plate a couple of fresh ones just from the oven. Pour a cup of coffee and just go put it on his desk while he's playing computer games. I don't say anything. Or I'll peek in to see if he has a drink. If not, I'll pour him a drink and take it in. I just like taking care of him. But he does similar things for me too. If you start seeing someone, and they start contacting you way too much and want to see you every single day right off the bat, just move on. They probably have codependency issues. Had a friend who did this, and every time he would throw himself totally into the relationship, it would last a month. And then it was like the world have ended until he met someone else a week later and did the same shit. I stopped hanging out with him. If you like a guy, not even head over heels, just if you appreciate being around them, just tell them. We don't ever really get compliments like this, so we often hold on to the ones we get for months, even years. Tell your friends you love them and care about them. It might mean nothing to you, but it means the world to us. Be the one who engages intimately once in a while. What I'd give to have a girlfriend reach out and touch me without me doing anything prior means a lot to a guy. I'm a woman, but if you have an issue with him, just fucking tell him. Stop dancing around and expecting him to know. He probably doesn't even know he pissed you off. He's not a mind reader. The sooner you actually speak up, then the sooner the issue is resolved. I see this in relationships around me all the time, and communication is such a basic, trivial aspect that so few people seem to make an attempt at. Also, like, be a bro and hug him. Guys tend to be starved of physical intimacy, yo. P. It seems fairly common for women, men also guilty, of trying to worm their way into a guy's life as a strategy to move things forward. Most guys seem to strongly dislike this. It can be very manipulative, and can seem to indicate we'll lose a lot of freedom if we move forward. See also, being very entitled to his time. Especially if you just want us to be present while you watch TV. Bonus negative points for being on your phone while you want us around. Close bracket. The more you can keep yourself content without our effort and time, the more attractive the relationship is. Most character traits that a guy has aren't going away. People change throughout the course of a relationship, but fundamentally core behaviors and beliefs won't budge. If you see a habit or trend you have to put up with that bothers you, ask yourself if you can put up with it forever. Relationships will have sacrifices, but don't assume you're willing to sacrifice your happiness forever to tolerate something. And don't assume they'll sacrifice theirs for you. Many men don't get the attention from women that women get from men. We're expected to give flowers, arrange a date, initiate romantic evenings, etc. Maybe not the flowers, but how about taking him out to dinner? Or a surprise date doing something he likes? Plan a romantic evening that centers on him instead of you. In other words, let us know you like us with more than just words. Kindness and good personal hygiene go a long way toward making a relationship work. Also, men are tested enough in their lives by family, employers, schools, other guys, and society in general. Don't add to this by conducting tests of your own. There's nothing worse than coming home to a test after a long day at work. Please don't volunteer us to do something for someone else before asking. Oh, I'm so bad about this. Your car's messed up. My husband might be able to help. Lem, ask him. Oh, sweet elderly neighbor whose husband passed away last week. Your lawn doesn't look awful. You think it does? You have no clue how you'll get it mowed. Since you obviously can't do it yourself, let me get my husband. Literally have done both of these in the past month. To be fair, my husband does love working on vehicles and mowing lawns, and gets really bored really easily. I never really stopped to think that this might be annoying for him, and he has never said anything to me. I'm always bending over backwards for other people, and have a helper's heart, and he does too. But I can see where it probably drives him insane. Thank you for pointing this out. I will be better. Be friends. Like. Besides the bedroom and looks and finances and help. Both men and women can live with someone who is not a friend for reasons outlined above and other. But that'll end and you'll hate each other if you don't manage to become friends. Just talk to us. Be there for us. Accept that when we're thinking about nothing. Sometimes we really are thinking about nothing. We like cuddles. Back head scratches and massages too. Be direct. Make yourself feel sexy, loved, and wanted. If you consistently reject his advances or never make any of your own, it can seriously harm his self-confidence. I'm not saying to always have sex every time he wants, but make an effort to accept his advances some of the time. Don't schedule sex either. It will feel like pity sex as well. Men get almost no positive attention outside of their so please give it to them. They deserve it. Give them compliments and constantly flirt with them. They will absolutely love you for it. If you're a woman who's interested in a guy and you know he's single, don't be afraid to ask him out. Men worth your time respect the hell out of women who work up the nerve to ask them out. They won't ever be offended or disgusted with you. They might even find you more attractive if you make the first move. If asked a straight question, give a straight answer. Are you hungry? Why and do you want to get dinner? Why and what would you like to eat? If you don't know, ask what are my options? Instead of I don't know. If you tell him you pick, don't complain about his choice. Guys, the same goes for you. If you give the decision, you have waived your vote. Try not to pick places they hate cause you like them. Bonus points if you choose a place they love and you do not. Best bet is pick a place you both like. We are thick, so we don't understand your obvious signals one bit. When I first got with my boyfriend, he wanted to leave after chatting for a few hours while at my house. I asked him to stay a little longer and showed him my bedroom. He tried to have a conversation about my PC while in there. Only after I took off my pants did he get the message. Good communication and independence bring something to the table. We should push each other to be better versions of ourselves together. If not, we aren't right for each other. 9 out of 10 times when you ask what are you thinking about, and we answer something akin to how much I love you, what we really mean is we were thinking of something so random that it makes more sense to just say that instead of explaining for an hour about why Aquaman ability to control whales shouldn't work or possibilities as to why hearing your favorite song play on the radio is much more satisfying to listening directly from your iPod. We aren't thinking about your friend Jennifer. We aren't thinking about the weight you gained. We are literally just thinking about random bits of info that pop into our head that makes us question reality, and we want to spare you from an explanation that could take the better part of the afternoon. Honestly, help us get in touch with our emotions. Many of us are not emotionally literate, and a lot of it has to do with how society wants us to be. Reassure us that we are not weak for showing emotion, or even for crying. Be there, willing to listen, and establish that communication. It's invaluable. I appreciate the sentiment that men should get in touch with their emotions more, but it doesn't seem like Enzo's job to make their partners emotionally literate. This can be a slippery slope if someone hasn't done work on themselves. Women aren't automatically therapists. Only say you're fine if you actually are. If you have an issue, then say so and we can talk about it. Don't just say you're fine and expect my Neanderthal brain to figure out what you mean. I'm busy thinking about food and boobs. This goes for everyone. Get past the idea of a relationship and understand the reality of it. We are inundated with the idea of a relationship. From books, television, even other people. I have news for you. That perfect couple, where everything seems to be going right, they aren't telling you about all the problems. We go into relationships thinking about all of the ideal partnerships and are disappointed when the reality of our relationships do not measure up. The idea is a fantasy. It doesn't exist. The sooner that people understand that, the more they can objectively measure whether they are happy in the relationship they are in, because they begin to temper their expectations against the real instead of the fantasy. Men communicate differently than women. We talk less and do more, on average 2,000 words a day less. For men, talking is a way to convey information and instructions. And not much else. If you tell us your boss is an asshole, we'll interpret that as an order to punch his teeth out. Because that's how we're wired. If you've ever caught your man not listening halfway through your conversation about how your day went, it's not that he doesn't care, but it's because he's sifting through your words to find the instructions. This is also why hints, nudges, looks, cues and other forms of unspoken communication can easily fly over our heads. We are clueless to what to you may seem obvious. So understand that we can be easily confused and that confusion can lead to frustration on both ends. It may seem absurd and tedious, but being in a relationship implies developing your own unique shared language. If you think that having a set of commonly used words is enough, you're very wrong. Don't know if this has been said already, but most of us aren't used to being emotionally available. So we may not open up. And when we do, it may all flood out. So if you do want your man to be emotionally open, try to make it so that it's a manageable controlled flow rather than opening the floodgates all the way. Sorry for the weird analogy. If there is a big issue you're having arguments about with your partner, it sometimes helps to give it a rest and come back to it later. I guarantee that in that time both will continue to think and come to terms with what's been said so that upon restarting it'll go much better. It's just not nice to constantly clash over the same thing non-stop. And just because it's not actively talked about doesn't mean we don't know it's there. There is no need to constantly bring it up and bash it in. Whatever is on your mind and is eating away at you, please state it. If you don't and let it eat away at you and you bring it up during an argument later on down the line, you may end up getting shouted at and quite possibly exacerbate the matter. As well as that, you achieve absolutely nothing by staying silent. We're secretly sad chivalry is dying and actually enjoy paying for dinner. No. You don't owe us anything afterwards. If you enjoyed it, be honest and tell us. If not, be honest and tell us. If we were raised well and were properly socialized, we can handle rejection gracefully. If you find that you are having similar problems in relationship after relationship, there is only one common denominator. Your choice of who to engage in a relationship with. Meaning that all these problems are primarily a you problem. Until you look in a mirror and fix that problem, all the other ones will keep cropping up. Pretend we're idiots. Like, pretend we're 5 years old and don't understand complex thought. I'm not saying we don't, but just pretend we don't. Instead of, I'm cold, try, babe, can you grab me that sweater blanket I like? In that example, we like to feel wanted and providing. If a guy opens up to you about something, never ridicule or mock his feelings. He probably has very few people he can be vulnerable with. And getting that rejection from a romantic partner is a huge blow. He's showing you he trusts you. He's showing you his humanity. Listen. Hold him. Empathize. Understand that you also have to earn our trust. In all of my relationships there's so much emphasis on the guy earning trust from the girl, which is completely valid. But there's little understanding that it goes both ways. I also have had bad experiences that close me off. And you shouldn't take it personally. Sex is not a currency. We both like it and both want it. Unless it's a favor or treat, like fantasy fulfillment etc. It should always and only be a mutual thing. And it should never be used as a weapon to get your way. We don't talk constantly. It doesn't mean we're mad or not happy. We don't pick up on hints or signals. We don't like you trying to fix us. Don't compare us to some imaginary perfect man you want us to be. We are who we are. Appreciate us for that. We hate it if when you nag us. We want to see you happy. Probably more than we want to be happy. So smile and laugh. It will make our day. Don't speak on our behalf. It emasculates us. Compliment us occasionally. Guys rarely receive compliments. So it's incredibly special to us. Blowjobs. Do it. Don't ever make a man feel replaceable. And never give them ultimatums. Many of my brothers have gladly taken the threat just to spite them. I'll break up with you if you don't yada yada. One time a bro said his lady threatened to leave him and he started packing her shit. I heard the screaming down the block, dude. Men also appreciate little displays of affection. Like flowers. Or a coffee. Or something simple like that. Close bracket. More sarcastically. Say when you want something from the takeout. I hate when people eat my food XD. I used to work as a courtroom interpreter for couples getting divorced. This advice goes for everyone. Reflect on what allows you to communicate clearly and in ways that don't leave you and or your partner exhausted. Don't assume things about your partner if you've never asked for clarification. If they've given no signs that point to what you think, you might be wrong. And even if they do, what you consider a sign might be something that stems from routine and given little to no thought. Not them trying to send a message. Don't give detailed accounts about your sex life to your friends. I don't associate with any men that do this. But I, personally, know loads of women that do. It's gross and feels like a violation of privacy and the intimacy that you two have shared together. Leaving one to feel disrespected and an experience. You'll be amazed at how many relationships fall apart over expectations never properly communicated. I can wax poetic on the topic further, but I think these are key points that I noticed being issues when working. Lots of women talk about how much they like affection. Newsflash. Men don't just like giving affection. They also like receiving it. If you notice that your man is going in for most of the hugs, then try doing a few yourself. Another thing. Women are used to getting compliments. For a woman, a compliment won't mean much. Because usually, they get a lot. However, for a man, a compliment won't go in one ear out the other. For example, 5 or 6 years ago, I got a compliment from a woman on my haircut. That haircut is still on my head today. That's how powerful a compliment can be to a dude. A good word of thumb is that if you like something, excluding penetration, he probably does too. This is not strictly a man or woman thing, but if I yawn and you stick your fingers in my mouth and giggle, I swear to the flying spaghetti monster, next time those fingers are coming off. That shit ain't funny. Quit it. If you find a guy that you want to go out with, ask him out. First off, the guy may not know you like him, so asking will help him see you as a potential partner. And also asking is brave and we also take notice. Don't wait because it may never happen unless you speak up. If he says no, then move on and ask another. It gets easier, I promise. Stop using the intimate things we tell you against us later. Also, stop sharing our sex life with all your f-king friends. Absolutely not okay. No way in hell you'd be okay with that level of sharing with friends if we were to do it. 1. Trust your gut. It's smarter than you think. If something tells you a guy is a tool or is cheating, well. 2. Do things on your own timetable. Especially marriage children. Write your own story instead of keeping up with friends or family. 3. Marriage children will not fix a relationship which has gone stale or isn't working. 4. You are never going to change him. Chances are he's happy the way he is. 5. Do not think you have to stay in an unfulfilling relationship. There is something better out there. As an older, twice married guy, I've been through it and have listened to numerous of long-time chick friends who've been through it. 2. My buddy's wife has this thing where, if she asks him to do something but he doesn't catch it the first time, doesn't acknowledge it right away, like if he's distracted by something else, she'll play this "what did I ask you to do?" game. Like she's judging him for not paying attention the first time. All it does is waste time for both of them. So please, don't do this. I was cringing because I was standing right there. On that note, also don't make a scene in front of his friends over something that can be talked about later. It's humiliating and usually puts him in a really bad spot mood. Tell your man what you really want for sexual pleasure. No holds barred. Drink or smoke weed to lower your anxiety beforehand if need be. But do it. After this has been done and fulfilled, then you can get real about damn near anything. No holding back. I know I'm late to this one. But in every relationship there is one person who wants more sex, or some other show of affection love, and one who wants less. Talk it over and meet halfway, or you are both in for a really miserable relationship. The one who wants less of any show of affection holds more power. They can live without it, sex, cuddling, kind words, whatever, and the other partner will suffer. This will cause friction and erode the relationship. But it can also be repaired by talking about it and meeting halfway. Be direct and be harsh when self-criticizing. This goes for both anyways. Also, don't judge based off height, as height is genetic and you can't change that. However, you shouldn't be offended if someone won't date you since you're 69,420 pounds, not the currency. Unfortunately. Don't get mad at something you set up in your head but never vocalized. Let your expectations be known. Most of the time we will bend over backwards if we know exactly what you want. Say what you mean. Mean what you say. Don't expect anyone to read your mind. Don't automatically go looking deeper at what is said. Most times, guys say what they mean and mean what they say. There isn't a hidden meaning agenda. If you're not in the mood for sex, please just say, honey, I'm just not really in the mood right now. It's okay. I won't get upset. I won't be disappointed. It's totally fair. And I totally get it. I know you still love me and think I'm sexy. Because we have lots of great sex when both of us are in the mood. Just please don't sit there ignoring my advances. Because it makes me feel like I'm not doing a good job. Or something's wrong. Or who knows. It's just a bitter surprise. And please don't try to do it just to make me happy even when you're not enjoying it. Because I can tell. And it doesn't make me happy. Become as independent as possible. Don't be the I have nowhere to go. I have no money, etc. Have your own place. A good job, and when you find someone you like, just visit as much as you like. If something goes wrong, everyone goes home. Don't waste your time on a shitty man. A lot of us have a lot of shitty we haven't even started to deal with. And it seems like a lot of us just want a woman to handle all their problems and save them without giving anything back. Know your worth as a woman and don't let men treat you like shitty. It's okay to be single and you really have no obligation to deal with someone else's issues unless they're actually going to be there for you too. Relationships need to be a two-way street. So keep driving if you see enough one-way signs. Give each other breathing space. You don't need to call or check on your spouse every hour to see where they are. Men don't usually get much attention. Small compliments and gifts go such a long way. Being jealous is normal. But don't let it consume you and let it turn into loss of trust. Don't negate or belittle our feelings. Men have already been told to man up. So when we do speak up, it usually means that whatever is consuming us is significant. Be supportive. If you come at us with an issue, our immediate knee-jerk reaction is to give you a solution. Do not expect us to commiserate with you and writhe in emotional agony alongside you. Most of us are problem solvers and will start trying to find a way to resolve and then prevent said issue. Me personally, I take it a step further and put it out there that I'm not one of her girlfriends, nor am I her emotional beating post. I let her know to come to me when she's ready to have a discussion and not just take an emotional dump in my general direction. But I am a bit of an ass. Like confidence isn't I know she likes me. Confidence is I'll be okay whether she likes me or not. That just because a person is right or perfect for you that you may not be the right one for them. Also, just because you love each other does not mean that you're good together long term. I love pizza. I loved my high school sweetheart. Both make my stomach feel bad and I should have no part in either. Don't compare your relationship to others. Practically everyone has a relationship that looks perfect from the outside looking in. Unless you are extremely intimate with your friends, you will never have any idea what that couple's actual problems are until they break up and spill the beans. No relationship is perfect and there will be conflict. What matters is the desire to solve the problem. To add to this, always fight the problem, not the other person. If you keep this in mind when arguing, you'll be able to actually resolve the issue than be mad at each other. The problem is that love isn't enough. You both have to be committed. There may be times you don't feel like you love each other, like you're so hurt or angry that you can't stand the sight of the other. But if you're both committed to the relationship, to the promises you made, then you'll work through it and you'll become stronger. Love without commitment just isn't enough, my mom. There are days, weeks, months where it's hard enough to just like the person you're married to, let alone love him. But you respect him. That respect keeps you from saying the stupid things, or doing the stupid things. Sometimes respect is more important than love. Don't look for a girl you want to treat like a princess. Look for a girl you want to treat like a partner. It's very true. I don't mind carrying my so, but I need to know she can carry me if I feel down. Don't disparage your so behind their back. I'm talking about watercolor balls. The old ball and chain is such a shrill nag. Am I right? My husband is such a dumb Neanderthal. He'd be lost without me, etc. Of course, if you have a legitimate gripe with your loved one, then talk to them privately or seek professional counseling. But don't use them as a punchline to get brownie points with other people who probably have bad relationships themselves. Over time, that kind of thing can seep in and undermine how you actually see them. Someone once gave me this sage advice: too late. Don't complain about your so to your friends. You may end up forgiving your so, but your friends won't. Under promise, over deliver. I love to buy her flowers. The trick is to buy them, not when you have done something bad, but when you have done everything right. Perfect way to over deliver. Once you're in a long-term relationship, marriage, never stop dating your so. There needs to be some sort of constant courtship to make them feel you still want them, even after all these months, years. I am an expert at not doing this. Of course, observe if your partner is low maintenance or high maintenance to begin with. If you guys got together because you both love watching movies while cuddling, don't start doing crazy stuff because you must impress. There are a number of people you can be compatible with. No one is perfect. You have to work at love. Bulls, I am God's gift to the world. Don't go into a relationship expecting to be made happy. You have to be able to be happy on your own first. I've heard be the person you would like to date before. In this context, it makes sense. You're not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Yes, set them on fire for once. See how they like it. Don't settle for someone who has zero regard for your feelings or wants just because you've been together a long time. Put a pillow under her hips. My dad gave me one bit of advice when I got my first girlfriend. She might pretend she doesn't want dessert. She does really. Order a serving for yourself, get 2 forks, and let her eat it. Desserts are for girls anyway. I see now it as nice little piece of advice, but at the time I was like, frick you dad, that's my dessert. That's how my mom did it. She never wanted to be fat, so she would make us children order dessert and then take bites of it. However, I got fat. It's always a risky idea to dip your pen in company ink. My dad, when I started dating a girl with whom I worked, he was right. I married my supervisor, 27 years, and she still won't pay me for OT. Hating someone is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Before you commit to a fight, ask yourself, is this the hill I want to die on? Unless it's got landmines left from battles long ago, then you can't tell if that crap's dangerous or not. Don't take relationship advice from a bunch of dirty redditors on a weekday. Best response to, my so has changed, and it's just not working anymore. If people can change, then that change is ongoing. Marriage is a beautiful thing that allows 2 people the time and space to safely fall in and out of love. Many times, your wife could again become sexual just as easily as a new woman could become cold. I would plead with you to tend your own garden and be patient in its fruits. Paths that have intersected in the past are all the more likely to cross again soon. After 11 years of marriage, I can say this is the best, most accurate advice I've seen in this thread. You can gauge a person's love for you by how they treat you when they are upset with you. Frick, this made me realize I need to treat my girlfriend better when I'm upset with her. Sometimes I can ignore her if I'm upset and I need to change that. Thanks for that. You'll try to not go to sleep angry, but if you're planning on spending 50 years together, sometimes some crap comes up that you just can't resolve before you absolutely have to hit the pillow. That doesn't mean you're doomed to divorce. It's not pleasant, but sometimes part of getting over being peed at each other includes a period of being upset and stewing while you calm down and meditate on crap in your own time. What's important is that you don't run away from each other. You may have to get some air to clear your head, but you'll always come back and eventually talk it out and resolve your tiff. In the meantime, if you have to go to bed angry, let your spouse know that you're at least there. Touch toes with them. It doesn't mean you think they're right, or you're right, or that you miss them. It just means that you're always going to be there even when you're so mad you can't even look at them. If you touch toes even when you go to bed angry, it says, I don't hate you. Marry the one who gives you the same feeling you get when you see food coming at a restaurant. Man, that other guy got the fajitas. Those smell so much better than the chicken I ordered. I knew I should have gone for the fajitas. A little old lady at my wedding wrote "Love is like chocolate chip cookies" on this signature board we had. I have no idea what that is supposed to mean, but she looks like Mrs. Claus, actually makes really good cookies, and is quite frankly adorable. So I've accepted this as some sort of Zen koan cosmic truth type thing that will just one day dawn on me. Or maybe Mrs. Claus was just high as frick at your wedding. From my mom, don't date a gambler, alcoholic, drug addict, or someone who is chronically unemployed. Unless they're all four, then they cancel each other out. Marry someone with a different favorite cereal than you so they won't eat all of yours. You'll be amazed how much more peaceful life is this way. My GF eats all of my Cheerios. I'm dumping her when I get home. It's completely simple yet so true. Communication is going to get you further than anything else is. To expand on this, communication is more than just talking. People are often bad at really communicating. My dad is my best friend and mentor, and I was talking to him about some problems around the relationship that could cause some difficulties. He gave me one piece of advice that sticks with to this day. Look kid, if she make you happy, and you make her happy, and you two are both happy together, then the rest is balls. Don't let other people tell you two how to be happy, just be freaking happy together. To this day, I find this to be more and more true. If you two are happy together, the rest is balls. I read this once and it stuck with me. A healthy relationship keeps the doors and windows open. Plenty of air is circulating and no one feels trapped. Relationships thrive in this environment. Keep your doors and windows open. If this person is meant to be in your life, all the open doors and windows in the world won't make them leave. Make sure you jack off before talking with an ex. What I hear you saying is, what this means is that when you are having a discussion or an argument, you can use this phrase to tell someone how you are interpreting their statements. They can then explain what they mean without feeling accused of something and feeling like words are being put in their mouth. It's especially great because it works for any relationship. When you're going down the pub with your mates and you expect to be back around 11, tell her you'll be back at around 12. So when you roll in the door at 11, you can claim you left early to see her before you both went to bed. You freaking genius. The grass is not greener on the other side, it's greener where you water it. If you are debating between two girls, jerk off and go for the first one you think of immediately afterwards. A relationship is like a fart. If you have to force it, it's probably crap. Love is like taking a dump. Butters. Sometimes it works itself out, but sometimes you need to give it a nice hard slimy push. If you ever feel like cheating, knock one out first and then see if you still feel like cheating. If you don't, you are only in it for the fricking and can't move forward. If you still do, get the frick out of your relationship. It took me a minute to realize you meant masturbation and not cheating as knock one out. Stop trying to find the right person and start trying to be the right person. This simple piece of advice changed my entire opinion on relationships. All of them. Not just romantic, but especially romantic. Love is not a fuzzy feeling you get whenever they're around. Love is a conscious commitment to another person. No matter what, that fuzzy feeling will pass. and too many people take that as a cue to end the relationship. No one is perfect, not even yourself. You will fight, you will say I hate you, you might even separate. But if you make the conscious decision to love each other and forgive each other, you will be together forever, and you'll lead a happier life in the end. If by best you mean worst, my aunt once told me kissing isn't cheating, it's tasting people. That's a very unconventional definition of best. Never change to get a person. If you do, they fall in love with who you're pretending to be and not you. If you must change, change for yourself. Also, never put your dong in crazy. Counterpoint, I'm sure there are people out there who were lazy or unpleasant and changed positively out of love. Love is a decision and an action, not just a feeling. There are times when I love my wife because of the feels. There are other times I love her because I promised her I would. The feelings come and go, but if you stop actively showing love to yourself, the feelings will just go. One of the best couples I know always say the secret is sleeping in separate beds for 1 or 2 nights a week. They say the space is fab and it's a nice and appreciative feeling sleeping in the same bed again after a couple of nights. Oh, look at all these fancy people, with their multiple rooms and their multiple beds. Must be nice. Before you move in with your partner, go on a road trip with them. I'm talking about a good long road trip. Plot out a few landmarks and go nuts. If you want to do it right, you need at least 13 hours straight in a car, at least 1 night in a mediocre hotel in a questionable part of town, and make sure to forget something fairly important. Road trips like that are a microcosm of a relationship's lifespan. You start off optimistic for all the fun you're going to have, but you don't know what kind of issues you'll run into. And oh boy, will there be issues. How you handle those issues when it's just you and your partner away from home will give you good insight as to how you will handle your issues when you live together. If, at the end of the trip, after getting home and dumping your bags on the floor, you look at each other and say, "Where are we going next?" then you're golden. If you say, "We are never doing that again," you need to think long and hard about the next steps of your relationship. My wife and I are taking our next road trip this summer. The person who cares least in the relationship has the most control. I hate how accurate this is. When a couple is in a serious relationship, or married, and split up, do not speak ill of their ex when you are hanging around with one of them. Even if they try to bait you into doing so, just remain neutral as possible and don't repeat gossip about their breakup. Unless, that is, you don't care to remain friends with either of them. It will always come back to bite you, so just don't do it. My father once told me to find a woman that you can stand 75% of the time because achieving 100% is impossible. Always having someone to do mundane tasks with. It's like having your best friend with you when you have to do boring chores from laundry mats to doctor's appointments. Except they're happy to be there with you. Absolutely. And having shared motivation when really I wouldn't be bothered if I were on my own. Not feeling weird when there's nothing to talk about. It's just like, okay, there's nothing to say. Not like when you're dating someone new and you're trying to think of anything to break an uncomfortable silence. After 9 years. This is what makes me sad. I just feel like we've run out of things to talk about. Start doing something in secret that could benefit your relationship or yourself. I've been with the same girl for 13 years and we met in high school. You could learn piano in secret and bust out something amazing and meaningful. You could take dance classes, say you're going to the gym or summit, and that could be really romantic all the way to exciting. Secrets and a little mystery is a huge gift in a relationship when they are the good kind. I love doing weird stuff like that. Keep doing that and you'll have plenty to talk about. But of course silence is great too. Having someone to watch your luggage when you have to pee at the airport. Very underrated. Just sitting by the man not really doing anything. Just cool being with someone. Update, happy to see so many others enjoy good company. Do you ever do that thing where she's away on business or something and you're watching something funny on the TV and you turn to her and comment on it just to realize she's not there? That is such a weird feeling. One of the best things in a relationship. One of the worst once your relationship is over. It's very weird to forget that it happened and be like, oh, I should show this too. Oh wait. Anytime you have a quip or find new music or whatever. It's just a reflex to connect every little thing to that person. People often think of a relationship as the grand idea of romance, but it's those really small things that can be most integral to it. Sleeping together. I don't mean sex, although that's obviously great. I mean literally just sleeping together. Being able to drift off to sleep feeling safe and comforted because that person is there next to you. Having someone there if you have a bad dream in the middle of the night. Waking up briefly and just feeling their presence and knowing that everything is okay and going back to sleep. I hate when my husband travels and I have to sleep alone, and when I wake up at night half the bed is cold. Although I love when he gets up a little earlier than I do and I can roll over and snuggle into the little dent he left in the mattress, which is all cozy and warm and smells like him. This. So much this. Nap dates should really be a thing. The bliss of falling asleep in a hug. On my St. Patrick's Day, I ended up at some girl's place and spent the night. Fell asleep and woke up in hug position, and we just ended up laying there in the morning half asleep and half awake for a few hours. That was more memorable than the actual 6-part, to be honest. Just being completely ridiculous with someone. Last night I hid from my partner under the tuna duvet, or whatever you want to call it, and she couldn't find me for a few seconds. It was completely stupid. But we both had a great laugh. Last weekend I was melting cheese over some nachos for my girlfriend. While playing Macho Man by the Village People on my phone, but singing the words Nacho Man. With some overly enthusiastic dancing. It's the small things. A tender hug for no particular reason. Other than you both naturally want to. It was really sweet. My BF isn't a terribly emotive person. But after spending 8.5 hours in a car that day, he just kind of took me into his arms and said we haven't hugged enough today, and it just melted me. Edit. I hate autocorrect. Never having to be uncomfortable in public. Either physically or mentally. Even the middle seat on an airplane is less miserable when you can put your head on the shoulder of the person next to you and laugh about an inside joke. You're so smile. When I was still dating my now ex-girlfriend, some of our time together was spent watching GOT and eating popcorn. She once mentioned some sort of seasoning powder you could buy for popcorn. Can't remember what it was now. During my next trip to the store, I managed to find some. When she came over later, I asked if it was the right kind. She broke out in this special smile that I knew was just for me. Always having someone willing to scratch your back. You're lucky. Getting a back scratch is harder than getting a BJ. Update. Told my wife about this joke and the upvotes confirming she's not the only stingy scratcher. Mistake. I believe I am now indefinitely going to be both scratchless and BJ-less. That's not funny. You think they're hard to get now? Just ducking weight. Just being able to have someone to text or maintain constant contact with. The hardest part of every relationship ending for me is not having a text every time I look at my phone, or not being able to look forward to telling MGF something that happened during he day. Edit. Lots of sad homies. Please don't hesitate to PM me if you want. Took me getting down to this comment to feel really lonely. I've gone days and even weeks without anyone texting or calling me. I almost always initiate any contact with other people. I never even considered it should be different. I hear you, man. Keep you head up. It'll pay off eventually. People life effort, and it seems you're the one who makes it. I shouldn't have come here. Why did I do this to myself? Probably to feel less alone. Being truly vulnerable. My wife and I lost our 7-month-old son to cancer in October of 2016. Earth-shattering diagnosis and outcome. But being vulnerable and accepting that when she says I love you, it encompasses so much more than 3 words. Vulnerability. Loss. Life. Passion and joy flood through me when we're together. Nothing else matters. Honestly. Being able to be yourself. You can take off your public mask and just be the real you around them. Forehead kisses. Just got into in my first relationship pretty much ever, and the first time he kissed my forehead. I was overwhelmed and blushed and melted entirely too much. And I don't think I'll ever get over it. Same meltiness. Same lean and contentment. Every time. Edited, vague wording. Someone to take a look at that rare lump or shave a weird area. Love is grooming each other like the freaky little monkeys we are. When you go to a restaurant and there are 2 things on the menu you want, you can get your to order one of them and share. Coming home to the same person every night. I love that feeling. We had 7 months apart when he had to move away for work and I had to stay put to finish a nursing course. It was awful. TBH, I have blanked out what I was up to when I wasn't at work. I didn't have many friends about who were there for me, and apart from packing the house up to move, I had nothing to do for myself. Only thing I can remember doing was leveling up to 80 in Guild Wars 2. He was living in a bedroom in someone's house with nothing but a laptop. I love getting a hug and a kiss every night. Knowing that no matter how itty your day was, how many people pissed you off, that there is someone at home that has your back. And even though they have your back, they'll still tell you when you're being a putz and you cause most of that trouble and offer solutions to correct. Not having to deal with the world of trying to meet people and dating anymore. Just got thrown back into this world several months ago. Mother ducker. Does it ever suck? Watching that person just exist. A little while ago my husband fell asleep with his head on my lap on the couch. I just stared at him, analyzing every inch of his face. Every crease, wrinkle, all little strands of grey hair he's starting to get. It's like I wanted to absorb the memory of that moment and what he looks like. Then my next thought was how excited I was to get to watch him age as we grow old together, and now I'm crying. Having an outlet for my weirdness. My Sue and I occasionally like to have pretend conversations using only turkey noises. I find that kind of it hilarious. But when I was single I had no one to do it with. So it just kinda stayed bottled up. And I felt like a more boring person as a result. You're in a team with another cool person. It's always great to be part of something bigger. Having meals together. That's probably one of the worst things for me about being single. I love to cook, but hate just eating it myself. In a relationship you always have someone there to enjoy it with you. Being the big spoon and getting to nuzzle your face in the back of their neck with all their hair that smells amazing no matter what. Little spoon is just as good. I love it when I wear my girlfriend like a backpack. Extra shrimp when your spouse gets full. And for my husband, it's extra steak. Being able to share your world with another person. Your experiences. Your friends. Your family. And to have that person want to be a part of your world. It's awesome. The effortless physical contact. They may be holding a conversation with someone and then reach out to you and put their hand on your back. I'm terrible at describing it, but it feels like it cements the togetherness you guys have. Going half-seas on everything. I love this. But not in terms of spending. We've had joint checking for years. I just love having someone to split things with. I get so motivated to cook good food if I could have it ready when my wife gets home from work. When we're watching TV, I like to disappear and come back with a surprise double portion of ice cream in a bowl. Or some other sweet treat we can split. In general I do so many more good things for myself if I know I'm doing it for her too. I don't know if it's underrated exactly, but for me it's the random couch fondling. From rubs on the neck and shoulders to playing with breasts to light, non-aggressive ticking and stroking of genitals. Sometimes it's just her. Sometimes it's me giving the soft touches. Sometimes it's mutual. Not even so much a sex thing. More a relaxation thing. When we settle in for some TV time in the evenings. Hands and fingers roam and give needed stress relief and relaxation. This is a common thing. Right, lol. Just knowing they chose you out of 8 billion people to be with. Statistically speaking, there are so many other people out there who could be more compatible and or make you so happier than you. Lesson to learn. Don't take them anywhere or meet anyone new. Second lesson to learn. Don't listen to me, I'm lonely old man at heart. Just feeling the other person touching you. I'll slouch in my chair while reading. And put my feet on his chair. He rests his hand on my foot while he's browsing the internet. It's so comforting. Not having to sit next to a stranger on the train. Watching a show or movie and being able to discuss the best worst scenes, plot holes with each other and the things you liked or disliked about it. Also knowing each other's tastes. Being able to surprise each other with favorite snacks things and asking your so to pick up food and just say you know what I like. Having a second person to deal with any household surprises. Like last night when we had a little bat in the house. We think it fell down the chimney and my partner was terrified he'd get rabies, which we don't have in Australia. We do have a similar thing called Australian Badless, but only 3 cases in humans have occurred and all up north, whereas we live down south. Also he's scared of moths, and as we discovered, bats fly like big slow moths lol. He called out to me and I was just like, what? That's amazing, and came to the rescue. I politely herded the bat outside while he held the door open with a blanket draped over him for protection lol. I feel like this balances out the amount of spiders I've had him evict from the house haha. Having that safe place to go to. I remember once coming home alone from a party. It was dark. Late. Scary, and I called my boyfriend. When I heard his voice I cried. Cause I was so happy to hear him. Sounds crazy. But it just gave me the greatest comfort there can be. Personal grooming. My wife and I call it monkey grooming. Ingrown hairs. Hard to reach pimples. Clogged pores. etc. She gets M for me. I get M for her. Colon. Someone who legitimately loves you. Cares about you. Supports you and will also help to improve you as a person. Even if that last thing means that you and or your partner need to step out of the comfort zone. I just find coming home to someone who adores me and puts me on a pedestal the best feeling in the world. Someone to share your stupidity with. Be that hobbies, sense of humor, interests or personality. Sure, some days he thinks I'm a bit of a freak, but I'm his little freak who loves him and is open about this stuff. My bloke is super smart and is like a sponge to some facts I don't know how he remembers. I love to hear him explain into high detail about stuff I wanted a simple yes or no answer about. He may have lost me in 5 minutes into it, but I love hearing him geek out about something.
It's fine to not always want to spend 100% of your time with your spouse. Not every moment of every day is going to be bliss, and sometimes it really takes some effort. I love my wife to bits, but there are some days when I would just like to do things by myself. It doesn't mean our relationship isn't great, but it can be really refreshing to just take a stroll around a shopping center, or go and get some food alone or something. Don't lose yourself as an individual in a relationship. Intimacy is way more important than most people realize. Go on holiday together, if you can agree on food, sleep soundly, compromise on activities and do your own thing one of the days and not get mad at each other, you stand a good chance of lasting a while. I love my boyfriend to bits and miss him a lot. We don't live together yet, but boy do I like sleeping on my own in bed sometimes. Space is healthy. Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you have to live in each other's pockets. When you disagree, remember that you're on the same team. You're supposed to fight a problem, not the other person. 1. Don't expect the other person to be able to read your mind. 2. Be a team, not opponents. 3. Everybody farts at some point. Communication is the foundation upon which everything else is built. They say don't go to bed angry, not because anger does something while you're sleeping, but because it means you didn't communicate properly and you're giving up on trying. Be calm, actively listen. Do not dismiss your partner's statements. Assume good faith. It's you and me versus the problem, not me versus you. If something's bugging you, talk to your sir about it. If you feel enraged about something, wait until you're well fed, well rested, with warm extremities before talking about it. But talk about it at the first opportunity, calmly, rationally, and honestly. Keep the discussion limited to that one narrow thing. If something's bugging you so, hear them out. Never think, well, I'm not bothered by that, so it's not a problem. Think, my sir is bothered by this, and that's a problem. If you think the concern is unreasonable, frame the discussion as solving the problem of your sir is being unhappy. The worst fights and arguments happen over trivial things. Because it's not the trivial thing that's actually causing the problem. It's probably a series of things, or a general lack of satisfaction, and the toothpaste cap being left off is just the instigator of the fight. If you communicate often and openly, these things will not fester, they won't pile up, and you won't get into such fights. Your spouse isn't going to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. There will be mistakes and misunderstandings. What really matters in a relationship is not being perfect, but how you handle the imperfections of yourself and your spouse in a respectful, reasonable way. You have to be honest with them, especially when it's hard to do. Me and my boyfriend get uncomfortably real with each other sometimes, and something we have both learned is to listen to criticism without getting defensive. And when giving criticism, we don't attack each other, no matter how angry or sad we are at each other. I've had him call me out for certain behaviors that nobody has ever called me out on, and I've done the same for him. We're both better people for it, because when we get it all out on the table, we have no choice but to work on ourselves. Learning how to be bored together is important. You don't have to be on the go, doing stuff and planning stuff and being fun and exciting all the time. It's okay to just sit around and not do anything and not talk to each other. It's not unhealthy, I promise. There's a reason it's called the honeymoon phase, and eventually you won't have as much to talk about other than how the day went, or might not always feel those butterflies in your stomach when you think about them. That's when it becomes a test in the relationship, and you both have to work on it to make it work. You will get into fights, but learn to get over them, or I doubt it'll last. Resentment can kill feelings for someone. In an ideal relationship, the contributions are 60-40, where both partners are the one trying to give 60%. My mom asked an elderly couple who had been married for decades what their secret was. They said that they act as if being nice to each other is a competition. That has always stuck with me. I have been married for 28 years. When I was engaged, a dear lady, then in her 80s and still very much in love with her husband of 60+ years, told me this: just because he is your husband, don't think he requires less regard than your friends. Before you yell at him for something, anything, ask yourself if you would yell at your friend for the same thing. What she was trying to say is that being married together is not a free pass to stop being a decent human being. You are going to get annoyed by the socks on the floor, but is it an excuse to fly off the handle? Respect and common courtesy are my recommendation, and you don't need to keep score, there's no winner. Sometimes you have to spend years with people to realize what you deserve. It was never a waste. You needed the experience to figure out what works best for you or what to avoid. You'll never forget your exes. They were there for a reason. Relationships are work, they aren't always fun. You won't always be madly in love, and you can't put them on a shelf and ignore them. Always be mindful and thoughtful to that person's love map. Like they might need a quick text every morning when you get to work letting them know you're safe. Makes zero sense to you, but knowing it's something small and means the world to them, well, why the hell not? They might get stressed out, and you helping to clean the house for when they've finished work might mean more to them than someone else you've been with who wanted flowers to show love. Know what it is that your partner loves and makes them feel loved too. Edit. Oh wow. Thank you very much for whoever gave me a silver. Thank you. Thank you. If you go into a marriage, long-term commitment with the impression that you'll be happy all the time and your life will only change for the better, you are absolutely wrong. Be realistic that there will be days you won't be able to stand each other. Your lives may absolutely hit rough patches and you will not agree on how or why that situation occurred, or even how to get out of it, and the like. A study of long-term relationships found that successful relationships have one major thing in common: The spouses are verbally supportive of each other's interests and thoughts. For example, if your spouse is very excited about Pokemon Go and wants to tell you all about the monsters they caught that day, the supportive spouse would listen to them talk about it and be excited for what they are excited about, even if they don't know how the game's played or think that it's stupid. The couple that's going to divorce, that other spouse would say, "I don't care. That game is for kids," or be generally dismissive of the conversation and change topics. Support what they are excited about as much as you can, even if it's just listening with a smile on your face while you do a shopping list in your head. Everyone is a sometimes. Everyone does stupid Everyone makes mistakes. Don't go into a relationship with the expectation that your partner isn't going to up or hurt you. They are human, and they will have times of poor judgment, high stress, and depression. Think of all the times in your life you've unintentionally hurt someone. Your partner will do that to you, and you will do it to them. Don't expect perfection, because you aren't perfect. A long-term, healthy relationship is not one where both partners are perfect 100% of the time. It's one where you can say, "Hey, you're being a huge right now," and your partner says, "You're right, and I'm sorry." You don't need to be in one. But what if it's been almost 9 years and I'm getting lonely? Pray to anime. During an argument, never say something you'll regret later. Arguments are temporary, but people don't forget hurtful, personal comments. Also, the one that loves the least always controls the relationship, based on observing family and friends' relationships. If your so has a healthy relationship with their ex, especially when they have kids together, it's a good sign. Don't cheat. It can really with someone mentally. If you don't want to be with a person anymore, just tell them. Sometimes you can give everything you have and be your absolute best self and still have it not be enough for someone. If that happens, it's on them, not you. A BoJack Horseman quote. It's funny, when you see someone through rose-colored glasses, the red flags just look like flags. Accept when you're wrong. Accept that your partner won't always accept they're in the wrong. Accept apologies. Accept compliments. Be accepting. Don't ever eat her leftover food she's saving. It's not okay. It's not ever okay. I ate my girlfriend's 3 remaining hot wings long ago and she still brings it up years later. Relationships are not there to fix you. If you aren't happy with yourself, the relationship won't make that a reality. When you want your partner to be fit, attractive, and dress well, don't forget that they want that as well. Want the best for the other person, not for yourself. That's why jealousy is poison. You want your SF to look good, but only for you. Get a clue. Give them something to want in return. Be a success. Take care of yourself. Learn something every day. Don't waste your time. Be kind and demonstrate that daily. You get what you give. Do the dishes. Meet the family before getting married. Talk about your feelings and your relationship, all the time, to each other. Pick your battles. You can disagree without making it known, if it's really not that big of a deal. My therapist always says, never marry potential. Watch how a potential mate treats others, waiters, people in the drive-thru when getting fast food, other people in line at the grocery store, their family members, etc. Pay particular attention to how they treat people over whom they have a social advantage, subordinates, employees, the uglier awkward friend, and so on. Do they talk behind their backs? Do they mock them? Do they give a look of disgust when they turn away? That's how they're going to eventually treat you. Don't let your or your partner's parents destroy your relationship with their behavior. Focus on the important thing. When my significant other and I first got together, we fought quite a bit. Despite being very different people, we agreed on many things and mostly found the same things funny, and the SNU was great. However, the places where we didn't fit so well generated a lot of sparks. After one bad fight that had us not talking to each other for a week, we got together and decided that the important thing was us. Together, we wanted to be together, and so we made a decision to never let an argument escalate to that point again. What's more important, winning a fight, Or being with the person that makes you happy. That didn't magically solve our problems. We still have disagreements and arguments and shouting matches. But we know what's more important. Next month is our 10-year anniversary.
Married couples. What is the unspoken rules of a successful marriage? There's no winning an argument when you're married. You either come to an agreement somehow or you've both lost. A situation where one person walks away feeling discouraged, unheard, and disrespected is not a victory when you're married. My favorite saying is, it's not you vs. You're so. It's you two vs. the problem. Thanks for the silver, kind stranger. And the gold. Everybody always says to be honest and to communicate with each other. The extra step that is left out is to not punish your spouse for being honest. Sometimes you might hear things you don't like. But if you punish this honesty, the communication line will close. Give each other space and alone time. If he wants to veg out and play video games for a couple hours, let him. If she wants to unwind watching reality TV or reading books, let her. Don't have to be connected at the hip to have a successful marriage. This is huge. Time alone is required. Sometimes you'll be helping each other poop or puke or both and cleaning it up. Don't ever bring this back up to humiliate the other. My wife is pregnant and kind of emotional. We have an agreement that I can't laugh at her farts unless she laughs first. This is going to be the hardest thing I've ever done. If one person voluntarily cleans something, the other person is expected to not complain about how the job was done. They might not load the dishwasher the way you do, but they did load it. That is a win. Sometimes you're wrong and sometimes they're wrong. Don't keep score. And don't use "well last time" as an excuse to keep going when you're the one who is wrong. Also, talk things through. Can't stress this enough. Not married, but this is one of the bigger reasons my last relationship didn't work out. I've tried to talk things out, but it could only get so far. Don't keep score. Forgive and forget, or if anything, move the duck on. My friend told me it's 2 blankets on the bed. One for each of you. We're looking forward to the age where it's socially acceptable to have 2 twin beds. Haven't met my SO yet, but I hope she likes bunk beds. D. If your partner is in a bad mood, leave him or her alone for a while. Why people pick at someone who's in a bad mood is beyond me. Cause the same person later says that you didn't care last time she were in bad mood. This guy marriages. Respectfulness is often more important than the old saying about communication. Respecting your partner. Being mindful of things they are doing, etc. Learn when your partner is focused on something, and avoid interrupting them, etc. Respect each other's need for free time away from each other. Respect your partner enough to not trash the house, or force your partner to do all the household chores. I'm a divorce attorney and I've been married for almost 20 years. Here's a secret: be the kind of spouse that you would like to have by your side. Forgive the things you would like to be forgiven for and fight for the things that you would like someone to fight for on your behalf. The best way to have a good spouse is to be one. Don't correct the other person unless it's important. Otherwise it'll just raise the level of irritation. More generally, pick your battles. This is true. If your spouse calls a squid an octopus, duck it. Let it go. No. She said it was okay to correct something if it was important. Cephalopods are serious business. 50-50 doesn't exist. In fact, it's harmful. What you're looking for is 60-40. Sometimes you get 60. Sometimes you get 40. It's funny. My dad always said 50/50 was a shit show. It should be 100/100. You aren't half of a couple. You are your own complete person sharing your life with another whole person. You don't split things in half or divide anything intangible, not applicable to real objects, because that's the first step to not putting in 100% of your effort. He and my mom were together for 33 years before she died. Love your partner the way they need to be loved. not the way you need to be loved. How do you learn the way your partner needs to be loved? You get to know them. Never disrespect your partner. Not in public. Or in conversations to your friends. Or in front of the kids. Etc. Friend of my brother does this. She is such a nice, educated, and successful woman. He always berates her and puts her down in front of others. It is so sad to treat your so like that. Really makes me want to say something, but I know it's just going to make it more awkward for everyone, especially her. So ugly of a person to do that. Never use the D word, divorce. Assume it's not an option. Assume it's never an option. Every fight you work through the best you can. You won't always agree. But at the end of the day, neither of you is going anywhere. It allows you to be vulnerable and honest about things without worrying your spouse will dip out on you depending on what you say. I'm not saying divorce is never the option. I truly believe being cheated on and similar issues are hard, not impossible, but incredibly difficult to work through. Once trust is gone, it can be irreparable. But if you live life assuming divorce is off the table, and focus on trying to strengthen your relationship in the difficult times, it will change your marriage drastically. Absolutely. We even have a no joking about divorce rule. It's not a life thing. And no laughing matter. Remember that the last words you have spoken to her may be the last words she ever hears from you. If you have kids, it's okay to put your so first. A healthy marriage is better for kids in the long run than a mom or dad that waits on their kids hand and foot. As long as you aren't completely neglecting your child or putting them in danger. Unfortunately, some people kick their kids out because their new so does like them, or they overlook when their kids are being preyed on by their so. No matter what happens, we're on the same side and working towards the same goals. From work to family members. The rest of the world can be a but at the end of the day, we chose each other and we remember why. If your so drops the pot of dinner on the floor, or the garbage bag bursts and makes a mess, you step in and say, go sit down and watch TV. I will clean this. There is nothing more frustrating than making the effort to keep your family clean and fed, and having to fight against the universe at the same time. If your so has your back at exactly that moment, it's instant love. 1. Never use the D word, divorce, unless you're really prepared to go there. 2. Laugh. Like a lot. 3. Learn to know when you fucked up and genuinely apologize. Without using the word but. 4. Date nights. Always make time for date nights. 5. Pick your battles wisely. 6. Get a dog. It's fun to obsess equally over something insanely sweet and adorable. I'm divorced, but I feel this applies. When my husband and I were on the verge of divorce, he tried to make me give up my cat. I told him I'd divorce him before I gave up my cat. He couldn't believe I'd choose my cat over him. My cat didn't sleep with another woman while I was pregnant. He packed up and left the next day. 3 lessons. 1. Don't marry someone if you choose your cat over them. 2. Don't marry someone who'd make you give up your cat. 3. If they cheat while you're dating, a wedding ring isn't magically going to make them loyal. Have separate interests and also shared interests. And friends. Definitely. We have mutual groups but also see our own ones. Trust isn't just about believing your partner won't lie or cheat on you. It also means believing they have your best interests at heart. Giving them the benefit of the doubt as much as possible. And not needing to win arguments purely on principle. You aren't afraid of starting a slippery slope of laziness if you go ahead and take care of one of their chores. You don't try to punish each other's mildly annoying quirks, even though you might make no secret of the fact that they annoy you. You don't say mean things behind each other's back. You should be able to make your spouse your #1 priority without worrying that they'll abuse it. Don't ducking lie. Ever. I'm not married, but my dad once told me to never make a big purchase without talking to your spouse about it and to never hold money against each other. Mutual hatred of the same things. We like the what the duck is wrong with those people, hey. At least we're not like that mentality. Put all the restaurants' name in your area in a hat. Agree that you will decide where to eat based on the name you pull out of the hat. One rule I've followed for the last decade is that I never ignore calls from my wife. If she's calling or texting me, I answer no matter what. My grandpa shared this advice with me. He's been married to my grandma for 67 years. When you feel like you're going to get into an argument, go into the bedroom, take all of your clothes off, and argue. You just might end up with more children than you anticipated. Love is a decision. Some days that decision is harder than others. Some days they carry you. Some days you carry them. It should balance out eventually, but the time scale is years. Do something together so you have something to talk about. It's okay to do things apart, too important even. My husband loves art films. I don't, he goes without me. I love running. He doesn't, I go without him. You still get to be an individual. You don't have to do everything together. Don't expect the other person to deeply change. Learn to compromise and work around problems together. Your husband hates laundry and won't do it? Okay, he does dishes instead. It's my 8-year anniversary today. Not having kids helped a shit ton. I think. Mutual respect and amusement. Both of you should respect each other and find each other's flaws and foibles amusing. Everything else just comes down to putting in the work, and it doesn't have to be hard work all the time either. Sometimes it's just putting in the time. My wife adds, assume good intentions. Your partner loves you. He's no trying to be inconsiderate, thoughtless, or a big dig, and she's not trying to be a rich or a nag. Her words, not mine. Figure out what's a big deal and what's a little deal, or irritation. Let the small stuff go. Every time. It's almost all small stuff. You'll rarely get upset at each other after you both master it. Less of a rule and more of a tip for young couples. There are 2 apps that have been critical to my happy marriage. Together almost 11 years. Married for 7. A shared Google Calendar and a grocery list app called Our Groceries that lets you add people to the list. No more what do you mean we have plans this weekend. I just said we could do this other thing. No more hey I'm at the store right this minute what do we need texts. Acknowledge anything that mildly annoys you immediately. And when you fight, fight fair. No name calling or bringing up shit from the past. If you're going to buy one piece of really expensive, nice furniture, get a quality bed with the best mattress. You're going to spend up to 1/3 of your life in this spot with this person. No need to piss each other off because you are sleeping in a bad bed.